if you're 16 or whatever, smoking pot, it's the perfect song. I got different ones for different ages too. Go on.
Not that we're encouraging 16-year-olds to smoke pot.
I am. I don't care. Come after me.
Welcome back to Last Words on the Pit. This week is our very, very special 420 episode, and it will be the highest rated episode of the year. Believe me. And we have a very special guest who needs no introduction. He's a musician. He's a showrunner. He's a comedian, and just a general badass from Galaktikon, Dethklok, Metalocalypse. The list just goes on. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Brendon Small.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
You have a beautiful guitar in your hand. What's going on there? Please tell us.
This is the new Epiphone Ghost Horse. And you can see it's got 6 strings, it's got a whammy bar, it's got 24 frets, it's got like this really cool relief kind of like carving thing right here, or you can just get a little bit higher. I wanted to make sure I could get these high frets and also be able to access them with my fat fingers.
Well, I've been collecting a lot of guitars during the pandemic, and what I don't have is a Gibson. So you are tempting me a lot. I might have to, get the wallet. Even though I went to the link for the new guitar, the Ghost Horse, and it said sold out. So I don't know. I think you need my help.
That's the crazy thing is this thing sold out really quickly. It sold out. We made like 500 of them or something, which is like in guitar numbers. That's like a good number, I guess. And so I was notified by Nashville that they are building more now, and they're building twice the amount because they were so happy with the launch. So you can pre-order them.
So I'm gonna cut in here as the king of clunky transitions. So, it is 420, all right? And I'm not gonna let anyone get out of here without talking about stoners in metal, our favorite stoner songs, and the fact that I don't know if you or anyone who made anything for Adult Swim would have a career without weed. I mean, can we all agree with that?
I think you're right to say that. Whether or not the performers are high, the audience definitely.
No, I'm talking about the audience. I'm talking about the audience.
Yeah. And when you start stuff at midnight, it's a different point of view. And I think Adult Swim really understood late night comedy. They invented a style of comedy. I remember seeing Space Ghost and thinking, my God, this is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. This is a new style of comedy I have not seen. It's like creating a new style of music, like a new genre, Like how often do we get a new genre that just pops out of nowhere? Adult Swim definitely did that. So, but yeah, definitely stoner audience.
I feel like this is like that famous Bill Hicks quote that Tool actually sampled on the song Third Eye, where it's like, if you have a problem with drugs, I mean, I'm paraphrasing obviously, but like throw out all of your records, throw out all of your art, because the people who made that were real effing high. Yeah. So it's like, there's kind of like a truth to like what Doc was just saying. And what you're kind of saying about this, where there's that correlation between artistry and not necessarily that, hey, okay, if I smoke, that'll make me better. But I think it's more that creative types are just more likely to just kind of smoke and get high and kind of unlock their creativities.
I'll tell you something on those lines is that I smoked a little bit of pot in high school, but then I became a horrible pot smoker and didn't smoke it forever until very recently. Well, not very recently, but throughout all of Metalocalypse, no pot smoking from me. I didn't smoke any pot. Believe it or not, all that weird stuff just came from being a weird idiot. And having some weird idiots working with me as well, where we would push the envelope of just, let's see how weird we can get. Is this working? How slow can we make this? How fast can we make this? I never really wrote any of those shows high, believe it or not. And I wasn't even going for we were just going like for whatever we thought was funny. And that was the bottom line. We weren't going like, hey, people will be stoned. They'll really like this. We didn't think about any of that stuff. We just thought, what is making us laugh in this room? And it's this stuff.
So we asked everyone to come up with their favorite, I guess, metal song to smoke weed by, or the song that gets them all jazzed up when they're feeling the green. Brendon, what do you have? What's on your list? What can we get you pumped up?
The first one I picked was because of the first time I got really high was with my buddy, and he played the Mob Rules album, and one song made my head explode, which was E5150, which is just a weird like 3-minute song that is the weirdest. It's like sound effects and weird squirrely sounds, and it's got like just parts of it that sound like this, like. And it just keeps going, and then it goes into this really cool kind of anyway, it's got cool chords. It's really weird. Check it out. It is a strange stony song. It's if you're 16 or whatever smoking pot, it's the perfect song. I got different ones for different ages too. Go on. Who's next?
Not that we're encouraging 16-year-olds to smoke pot, but
I am. I don't care. Come after me.
Katie, what's your selection?
so I mean, I'm gonna go with the OG classic, "Dope Smoker" by Sleep. I mean, the song is 60 minutes long, which is great because you just put it on. You don't have to worry about a playlist. You could just vibe out. You don't have to skip over it. You could just vibe for a whole hour to one song. And it's a great song. I mean, the lyrics, like that, I believe the first lyric of the song is "drop out of life with bong in hand." It's just a great epic song. And it is just like the stoner anthem. Like, can you really call yourself a metal stoner if you didn't listen to Dope Smoker on 420?
I like a little bit of a faster pace stoner song because I spent a lot of my life as a stoner. So, I'm going to say I have a lot of picks down here. Caius Wright is a really dope song. It sounds so 90s too. That's what I really like about it.
I'm kind of out on the whole stoner metal genre, stoner rock genre, whatever you call it. And listen, and I think you can take this even to like the psychedelic bands. I think or EDM for that matter, certain kinds of EDM, any style of music that you need to get high to enjoy is immediately handicapped, in my opinion. All right. So I'm gonna put out there right there. I just pissed off a whole bunch of people and I don't care. Suck on it.
He's back.
But there's a lot of those bands I do like, but not because I need to be high to enjoy it.
No, I see it the opposite. You're not enjoying it because you're high. The music is actually amplifying your high experience. You see, you're looking at it backwards. The music is like the accessory to your stoned experience.
No. Actually, no. And I'll tell you why, because it has to do exactly with my selection. It is Rational Gaze by Meshuggah. And there's a dividing line with it by Meshuggah fans. It's like the thrashy, up-tempo, more tuned up Meshuggah, the Chaos Sphere before, and then Nothing and After. And all of my friends that like Nothing were all potheads because everything was slower. It went on for longer, and it was very hypnotic. And this is a badass song, high or not. But when you're on weed, then you get it. All of a sudden, you're like, oh.
I do think fast stuff really does work nicely if you're high. I don't think it has to all be the slow, sludgy desert rock or desert metal or, Caius. Or though I love Caius and I do love Sleep, I think about like fast thrash. In fact, like another thing that I listened to was the record that I saw live first was the new Mr. Bungle that blew my mind also. That thing just made me insane. I loved it so much. And it just sounds like it was in a time capsule from like 1986 because it is, I guess. But that one was another one, this pandemic, that worked for me.
But of course, you have to mention the Sweet Leaf because that is like the OG song. That is like the OG stoner metal song. It is a love song to weed.
It's one of the best riffs ever. Yeah.
That's great. Well, it's interesting hearing about Brendon, you being into fast stuff or even Katie bringing up some of that stuff because I have a bad weed experience. I was high on tour playing the Roseland in Portland, and God forbid opened up. We were for Behemoth and Cannibal Corpse, and I made the mistake of watching Cannibal Corpse high. I thought I was over with. It was not. I ran. I was like, no, I can't do Cannibal Corpse on this much weed. It was not a good experience.
The first record I mixed while I was smoking pot was the most recent Galaktikon 2 record. And what I did deliberately was I did a lot of stuff that if you're listening to it in headphones, that you're listening and things bounce back and forth. You're hearing a little thing, a little sound that just kind of comes at you from far away. And I think that's a really exciting thing. Stereo, like the stereo sonic sphere, whatever you want to call it. But that was something I really wanted to do, which makes, because I listen to all kinds of stuff. I listen to Tangerine Dream. I listen to Vangelis, whatever, like the Blade Runner soundtrack. Those are great stony things. So if you can get some weird sizzling synthesizer to cut across in the middle and just like come at you, that to me is exciting. So because when I am listening to music, I have my iPod on shuffle and it goes from like, like mid-century classical stuff to Thundercat to like, to the new Cannibal Corpse that just came out. So it's just like skipping from like genre to genre to genre. And that to me, that really, and actually really important contradiction in style really keeps your ears alive all night. So that's what I have to say. Just put it on random, because the idea that I can't believe they figured out a drug. Well, it grew on Earth, but a drug makes music sound even better than it already does. That makes it more exciting than it was. And it already was pretty good because it's a bunch of weird vibrations that are altering. It's invisible vibrations that are altering your chemical I mean, it makes you feel something different. It makes you feel rage, anger, sad, happy, whatever it is that the music that you're listening to is. And then it just gets that little like extra weirdo filter once you're smoking pot. So anyway, Cannibal Corpse, the new Cannibal Corpse, I have to say. It is heavy, it's scary, but that's what I want from them. I need it from them.
So chances are, if you smoked weed with some weird people. Who's the weirdest person you smoked with? Brendon, I feel like you hang out with celebrities. Like, what about you? Anything good?
I hang out with writers and musicians. I hang out with nerds. So the one story that I remember, this is like it's a too much pot, not ready for it story from me. And this is like during our first Dethklok tour. And some of the bandmates were smoked pot regularly back then, and two of us didn't, and I was one of them. And one night we were like, "Hey, we have a night off. We have the next day off. Let's get really high and get order a pizza. Let's do it right. Let's get like ice cream and let's get pizza. Let's get junk food and let's just be nice to ourselves. We deserve it." And we're in like Lawrence, Kansas, and we have the night off. So, but what would end up happening was it was the worst. It was just, I really didn't have fun at all. It really sucked. I got too high. I had like some of Gene Hoglan's weed.
I've had that weed. That checks out.
Yeah. I mean, when I first saw Gene is one of the most creative crafts persons and great players and cool guy to hang out with. So he's such a mellow, nice guy. And I used to see him like just taking apples and just putting them in his jacket. He would just take apples off the whenever there was like a backstage, whatever. And I was like, this is a guy who can't get enough apples. This guy loves it. And then I realized he was making bongs out of them all the time. And I don't know if he ate them afterwards. Very, very rarely did they get eaten. And it was, so what happened was we were going like, all right, let's put on some really mellow music or something and let's just get high and have pizza. And one by one, the whole evening just crashed and burned. I got way too high where I was like noticing my pulse and how dry my throat was. And if there was like some spit bubble slowly cruising up my throat back to the top, I could feel everything. Like I was too aware of being alive and it was no good. I was having some kind of a crisis. And then like the bus driver came in after our Domino's pizza got delivered and he started screaming at us about, why don't you order from a mom and pop place? And what are you doing? This place, they support. We're like about to start crying because he was yelling at us because we were so scared. I looked over at Brian Beller and he was the other guy who wasn't like a normal weeds smoker. Brian Beller, who plays with Satriani and Steve Vai and the Aristocrats, monster bass player. But he and I had like I snapped to an image where he and I were in marching band outfits hanging out with these metal people, and we were like the idiot nerds. And eventually it all went away, but it was a terrible pot smoking time. And I think you get one of these every once in a while where you're just too high to cope with anything. And then I remember talking to Gene Hoglan, like doing like the next day, I'm like, well, I really didn't enjoy that. And he's like, well, you've got to just learn how to do it. And I was like, I don't want to have to learn. I'm not going to learn something. I've learned enough things. I have to learn how to get high. He's like, well, yeah, you just have to know how much to take, and you have to do this, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you're probably right, but I think I'm good now. And of course, I would later find out that, start without Gene Hoglan's weed is a good starting point. And then fold in more as you need it. And then try to take breaks.
There's definitely a couple bands we could advise to, like, if you're like a baby smoker, like a first time smoker, you're not really like well seasoned at all. Like, stay away from like anyone in Testament's weed, anyone in Exodus's weed, anyone in Obituary's weed.
How do you top that? Yeah.
We have been Last Words. Mr. Brendon Small, where can the people stalk you, find you, buy your new guitar, check out all the projects you're working on?
You can find me on Instagram at Brendon Small, Brendon, and at _ Brendon Small on Twitter. I don't know why I gotta. Someone took my name already. So what are you gonna do?
You can find me at Dethklok on Twitter and Instagram. Katie, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Merciful Kate on Twitter and Instagram.
Zena.
And if you want to find me on social media, at Zenakota, 2 E's is my handle. You can find me there.
If you enjoyed this video and you want to hear the full, uncensored version of this conversation, really get that real contact high, please go check out the podcast anywhere where podcasts are available. You know where they're at.